Ivory is the first GSE-verified software vendor for the new UAD 3.6 standard. Built for appraisers, Ivory's AI platform automates photo classification, data entry, and form population, cutting report time by more than half while keeping you fully compliant with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's latest requirements. Stay compliant. Work faster. Visit ivory.com. That's AIVRE.com.
Sometimes when you're an appraiser and you finally get involved and you go to some of these events, you meet some interesting folks. You hear some interesting stories. And I've been going to ATA, the Association of Texas Appraisers, for 20 years now, something like that. I'm a proud member of the ATA. Member of the National Association of Appraisers. I'm a member of the Kentucky Association of Appraisers, KAA, which we just created. And I'm about to join the Florida Association of Appraisers, which I understand is a brand new association as well. So I'm actively involved in the associations and support them and applaud them for their efforts. And ATA has done a great job for the Texas appraiser. Well, I met a special lady with ATA, and I've known her for quite some time now. She's a jokester. She likes to poke fun, especially at her husband and at me, and sometimes even herself. But she's a great person. She's a great appraiser, and she's a great dancer too. I had the privilege of twirling around the dance floor more than once, and I'm honored that she was willing to come on to the program. I love her story, and I think you will too. So come back and join me and listen to this fantastic story about a practicing appraiser.
Are you an accomplished instructor or outstanding supervisor in the real estate appraisal field? Join Melissa Bond, the industry's leader in practical appraiser training across the nation. This is your opportunity to earn additional income while making a lasting impact on the appraisal profession. Share your knowledge, mentor the next generation of appraisers, and expand your professional reach by helping to shape the future of this industry. Contact Melissa Bond at mbond@ceinstructor.com or 601-916-6501 and turn your expertise into opportunity.
Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education, please give us a call or check us out online at appraiserelearning.com. You'll be glad you did. So I'm super excited to bring this guest in. Like I said, I've known her for a while. I love her to death. I love her husband to death, although she sometimes says she's not married anymore. I never know, Dennis shows up and I'm like, oh, I thought he was out of the picture. What's going on? So Miss Karis Crawford, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bryan, for having me today.
Well, as I let in, you're a hoot. I think that's a great way to describe you. There's never a dull moment with you around. That's for sure. So why don't you tell my audience just a little bit about yourself, not the background story. We're going to get to that. But what you do today, what your credential is and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I'm a realtor as well as an appraiser, and I have several listings, and they're not even in my area. One's in the Houston area and one's in Midland, but I'm from Midland. But daily, my husband and I appraise homes, and I like to measure with him. It just seems to go a lot smoother to have two appraisers' eyes on the same property.
Gotcha. So it's a tag team. You guys go out and look at the properties together.
We don't always agree.
I can't imagine that. And Karis, how long have we known each other? When did we first meet? Do you recall?
It was Lincoln Institute. So I'm going to say we first met in about 1993, 94.
Oh my goodness.
When did you join?
Wasn't Lincoln for me. I came around with Columbia after
ATA.
Lincoln, so, yeah.
Then it would have been 2006, 2007.
Okay. It's been a minute. Yeah.
Well, I've been an appraiser since 1990-ish. So.
Yeah. And the first time we met, is that when I got to dance with you?
No.
Oh, okay. What was it?
That may have been. That was 2015 when I got Appraiser of the Year. We danced that time too.
Okay.
And recently.
And what was that story? There was something wrong with your leg or something.
I was going in for knee surgery that very next month. And here it was August. I was going in September. and you asked me to dance, and here we end up on the dance floor. And later somebody said, I can't believe you got her out there because she's supposed to have knee surgery.
And you never told me. You never told me.
I didn't want to stop the chance to get to dance with you.
Oh, good grief. Oh my goodness. Well, you're quite the dancer. So let's talk about it. You've got, when you told me this story, and I almost didn't believe you. And there's good reason for that, because you tell stories that aren't true a lot of times, right? You make up stuff a lot. So, it was, but then you told me, no, this is really how it happened. And I was amazed. I was intrigued. And so, I met a lady one time, and she said she got into appraising because she was on The Price is Right. And I'm like, you made that up. And she said, swear to goodness, I got called. I came up and I won. I guessed the price, and I was this close. And somebody saw that and said, gosh, if you're good at estimating prices, you might be good at developing opinions of value. You'd make a good appraiser. I was fascinated by that story. But I'm fascinated by your story as well. So,
but the real reason, Bryan, was because somebody would pay me for my opinion.
Yeah, and I said that too. I said that's why we have the best job on the planet, isn't it? We literally get paid to offer our opinion, and you got to have support for your opinion and meet requirements and guidelines and such. But at the end of the day, we get paid to tell people what we think. How could there be a better job? It's the best job on the planet. But let's. I'm gonna stop talking for a while. That's hard for me, and I want you to just take us back to the very beginning, before you were an appraiser, and what you did to make money and put yourself in school and get to where you're at today. So let's go back to the very beginning.
But not the house.
No, I want that too. I want the horse. I want it all. So, so let's go back.
I grew up in Midland, Texas, and I lived on a cotton farm. So we got up every morning real early and changed pipelines before we could go to school. But our parents paid us a little bit of money. I think we got about $1.50 an hour. And then we took that money and we would buy our show calves or show lambs. And if we made real good money off a show lamb, I think one time I made $400. But then a lot of times we used our money if we wanted special boots or something else. Well, I became a barrel racer by the time I was around 8. And I'd have to only go to the real close shows because I'd have to ride my horse to them. My parents didn't have time. They were farmers and were always busy. I'm the baby of 6.
You rode your horse was your transportation to the show, and then you rode the horse in the show competitively.
And then rode it back home.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So you better plan your time ahead of time.
Right.
And if it's raining, you better have a slicker.
Yeah. All right. So you were into barrel racing, and then what?
So I raised a lot of 4-H animals. So yes, I did make money there, and I did, like I said, work with my parents. They also raised hay, alfalfa hay, and we got paid for different things. But I also babysat for friends and did some things at church. But I had saved up some money, and one day I was on the bus riding to school because we lived out in the country, and my bus driver said, Karis, we're moving to town. I said, you're doing what? Well, he lived in this 2-story rock house, a historical home built in the 1920s. And I was like, people don't move. Why are you moving? He said, well, Karis, we're older now and we're going to move into town. I said, what are you going to do at the house? He said, well, we're going to put it up for sale. I said,
wait a minute. You said you were on the bus and you had this conversation with the bus driver. How old were you at this point?
I am 16 years old.
16 years old.
And it is my junior year of high school.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. So my bus driver had been a real close friend of ours for a long time because he just lived a couple of houses, well, just one house away from us, but several acres. So his daughter and the sister just older than me, were best friends. So I've spent many nights at that house. I knew the house very well. So I told him I wanted to buy it. He said, well, I don't know if you can do that at your age. So I went straight home, told my daddy, I am going to buy Chuck's house. And he said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I'm going to get a loan. He said, you can't get a loan at 16 years old. And I said, why not? I didn't know if nobody make me loan me any money. I was 16, had a car. So I told my dad, and he said, honey, we have 6 kids. I can't sign for one kid to get a note and not the others. I can't do it. I said, okay, tell me the process. He said, you're going to have to go and talk to a banker, but he's going to have someone co-sign because you're too young. I thought about it. Next morning on the bus, I said, Chuck, I want to buy your house. My daddy said he won't co-sign. Will you co-sign? He said, well, I don't know. You need to go talk to that banker first. So I told Daddy, I said, I know your banker's name's A.E. Smith. Can I just go down there and talk to him? He said, yeah, go down there and talk to him. Yeah. So I just went down one morning. Back then you did make appointments. We're talking 1972.
Okay.
So I said, Mr. Smith, I want to talk to Mr. Smith. And they said, what do you want to talk to him about? And I said, making a loan on a house. They kind of laughed. So he brought me in. I sat down at his office and he said, Karis, you're wanting to make a loan on a house? And I said, yes, sir. Yes, I am. And he said, well, what do you do for a job? And I said, well, I work with my parents. I've got 4-H money. He said, let me look. Do you have an account here? And I said, yes, I do. He looked it up. And I had about $5,000 in an account.
Wow.
He said, so where did you get all this money?
At 16, there's 40, 50, and 60-year-olds right now that don't have $5,000 in their bank account. So at 16, you had $5,000 that you had been saving, and now you're going to buy a house with it, or try to at 16.
He said, can you put the entire amount down on the house? I said, yes. He said, how much are you wanting to borrow? And I said, well, the man wants to sell the house for $32,000. And he said, what all does it include? And I said, well, it includes a 3-bedroom house and 30 acres. Gosh. Boy, he jumped back and he said, what? I said, yeah, there's about 30 acres on the property.
Wow.
And he said, what are you going to do with this? And I said, I don't know, but I can't let it go by without me buying it. It's a really good price. It's a really good place. And he just looked at me and gave me a piece of paper and he said, fill that out for an application. And I said, I don't think this application fits me. He said, here, let me help you. And I said, how much do I need to make a month to make this loan work? And I don't remember all the particulars, but we talked about it back and forth. He said, who's going to co-sign for you? And I said, I can know by tomorrow if you can make me the loan. He said, well, you're going to have a strong co-signer. I said, my dad said he won't do it. So I asked the bus driver to. And he said, okay, if he already owns the house, it's a no-brainer. Because he already owns the house, the only thing he's going to get is the house back. So who is it? And I said, Chuck Houston. He said, okay, I tell you what, I will call Chuck. I said, call him right now. I said, it's before he goes back to the bus barn. He said, okay. So he happened to bank at the same bank. He called Chuck Houston and said, Chuck, I understand Karis Bell's trying to buy this house. He said, yes, sir. He said, do you have this house for sale? Asking a few questions. Then he said, all right, I'm going to make her the loan.
Wow.
And I just stood there and he said, Chuck, when will you come in and co-sign? He said, I can come in tomorrow. And I said, what do we need? We didn't do an appraisal. We didn't do how much was it worth. We didn't do, like a broker's PPO. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I bought the house. I put $5,000 down. And the house was mine.
Wow.
Chuck said, how long can you give us to move out? And I said, years. I don't care. I'm just going to rent it to somebody for a while. I'm still in school. Mom and Dad are move over there.
I'm still going to high school. I'm not allowed to move. I'm not allowed to move into it. I'm still home with Mom and Dad.
Just because I own it don't mean I can move into it.
And so how long so you bought it with the intention of it being investment, an investment property. How long did that current owner stay? How long did it take them to move out? Do you recall?
Probably 30 days or so, maybe 45. They sold some of their tractors and things like that.
Oh, okay. And so How long did it take you to get a new tenant in there?
Immediately.
Okay.
I found 2 little rent houses that needed to be moved somewhere. So I moved both of those on my land and spent a little money and got them all hooked up. My brother knew somebody that would, move the houses onto our property. Well, those rented real quick, and they rented for $250 a piece.
Oh, wow.
So I do remember that my payments must have been about $300 a month, because those houses, I started putting every penny of them in. Well, then a lady wanted to rent the big house, the big rock house. Mm-hmm. And so I rented it for $500. Mm. And so she paid $500 down and then paid me the $500. And she only rented it for a year. Mm. Then, as a young teenager, I got married and I moved into the house.
Okay. So it did become your residence, but it
did become my residence.
Until that time, you were bringing down $1,000 a month.
Yeah. So I've just put that straight on the payments.
$350 house payment or something like that for the whole 30 acres. Wow. Well, you hit a home run there. And at 16 years old, I mean, that was a brave thing to do, courageous thing to do, especially when your parents said, I'm not signing for you. I got too many other mouths to feed, and I'm not going to be liable for this note. So you never missed a payment?
Nope, never missed a payment. Wow. And that Mr. Smith called me back and said, we'll loan you on another house if you ever need anything.
Wow. Did you buy any? I'm just curious. Did you buy any more houses after that as a, investment, or was you just really wanted that one because you knew it was a good deal and you didn't care how old you were. You knew it was a good deal at that time. You wanted to scoop it up.
Yes. I was a landman in the oil business because, I lived in Midland, so everybody's a landman, huh?
So tell, a lot of my listeners aren't in Texas. They have no idea they may see it on TV and know there's a series out on that right now. Right?
Well, I wasn't really that kind of landman.
But we'll tell people what a landman is. What is that?
So because my daddy was a farmer and I knew the other farmers, I made a good landman because I could go and talk to them, and it was like them listening to their own daughter. And so I would talk to them and say, okay, I am talking to Parker and Parsley Oil. And so they are wanting to put a pipeline or drill a well on your property. And this is the reason why I think this would be a good deal. And this is all they're going to need for easements on your property. And, but I knew the farmers, so they would trust in me and listen to me, and then we would get all the contracts done up.
So it's almost like a broker. You're brokering the oil
land
companies,
and the minerals.
Right. Okay. Very cool. And so you did that. So how did you go from a 16-year-old kid still in school, negotiating the purchase of a first home that was not even one you lived in, investment, bringing a couple other improvements on and really doubling what you could get with just the house, because that was $500. And then you had to wait and not even live there till you got married and moved in. You were a landman. And then how do you springboard from that to certified residential appraiser?
Well, I'd worked in the land oil business in Midland. And whenever my husband was transferred, Dennis, which is also an appraiser, and a whole nother story, but whenever he was transferred by Caterpillar from Midland to Abilene, the kids and I loaded up and came with him. And that was in 1986, 87. Okay. Whenever we came to Abilene, then I realized I was not going to get paid what I was getting paid in the Midland oil business. So I became a real estate agent.
Okay.
And so I got my real estate license in 1988. And by 1990, I was applying to be an appraiser. I got this one particular that my broker had given me the listing, and it was his pastor. And I worked very hard for him. We didn't have buyer's agreements back then.
Right.
So worked very hard for him and showed him probably 40 houses in 8 months.
Wow.
And never got paid because he bought it for sale by owner.
Oh.
And I said right then, I knew this really older lady that was a appraiser. And I said, she gets paid for every time she goes. and for her opinion.
she is. It doesn't matter if it closes or not. She's going to get paid.
She still gets paid.
Yeah.
I said, maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe that's my problem.
Yeah, look, taking somebody around to show them 40 houses, all for them to say, man, changed my mind, or oh, I'm going to buy one over here. I mean, I worked with a client for 2 years showing them houses, and they never bought one. And yeah, so I'm with you. That can be very frustrating.
So I started asking some questions and started taking appraisal classes. And where I took them was with George down at Lincoln Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And
George
I really liked George. I really liked the classes I took. I wasn't there too long before Bobby Chris came about, and I took some classes under him. And, I did not pass my test the first time. I want to tell all new appraisers, that's not, that's kind of a tricky test, just like it was in real estate. Mm. You may not pass that test the first time because you may be misunderstanding what answer they're wanting.
Right.
But my first test was commercial. Mm. And if I'd known then what I know now, I would have studied the commercial and been a general. But I got my residential. I was happy with it and stayed a real estate.
I appreciate you being, brutally honest with that, because a lot of folks wouldn't share that, right? And you bring up a very good point, Karis, is that, you're still an appraiser.
Yes.
You might not have passed that first go around, but ultimately you passed and you got your credential. And as long as you've been an appraiser, I want to ask you this. How many times have you ever had a client ask you, or anyone for that matter, Karis, did you pass on the first time?
I really don't have that question.
Yeah, nobody asks you that.
They're afraid I'd hit them.
Nobody cares. I mean, you have the credential now. Yes. And they don't say, well, did you pass on the first time, or was it 2 times, or was it 5 times? Because that's going to make a difference. At the end of the day, you're credentialed now. It doesn't matter if it took you 5 times to pass the exam. You finally got there, and I'm not saying you. I'm saying if that was true with one of my viewers or listeners, don't beat yourself up. I mean, there are individuals that really know the material and understand what we do. They're just very poor test takers.
I am, Bryan. I'm a very poor test taker.
There are test takers that just get a lot of anxiety, and they know the material, but when it comes under that pressure, they just don't perform well. So, we had a lady that wasn't obviously for the exam, but it was for some qualifying education, and she had a disability. And she said, I need the questions read to me. I don't want you to, try and help me with the answer. I'm not asking for any special, but I'm not good at reading something. And she's like, I really need someone that can read it to me, and then I can answer it on my own. And we figured out how to accommodate that. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because you certainly didn't have to. So what's the day, the typical day for Karis now in 2025? What do you spend your days?
Well, Dennis and I get up and we start making sure all of our files for that day are set up, as far as for the computer with Broker Bay that you call and tell them you're gonna. And with me, they're always, are you going for real estate? Are you going for appraiser? What are you going for? Get all that done, and then we usually go eat lunch or go eat breakfast, lunch, brunch, and then we go out to start measuring some of the houses. Now, in our town, we're very small, 120,000 people. So we know most of the realtors. Then I've been in the business since 1988, as far as the real estate end of it. So we know most of the realtors. So when they become a new realtor, we actually give them one of our cards. Okay. So in most cases, before we go to the house, we already know that realtor.
Yeah.
And so then they may ask us, while you're at the house, can you point out a few things that you felt like were a problem with the house? Bryan, when we first get to the house and we're measuring and stuff, what we want to do is get all of our facts right. So I don't usually call them at that time. And I know that they're thinking you're just there, walking around measuring it like they are showing it, but that's not exactly it. Sure. We're boots on the ground, fast in, fast out, and we're looking for everything in that neighborhood, in appraising. Sure. So we try to do those as quickly as we can. We'll call the realtors at the end of the day.
Okay. great.
Same thing with buyer or seller. If they're at the house, we don't have a lot of time to explain everything.
Yeah.
It's better to just talk to them later. But so we measure the house, and then we live in a central area in the town. We can run back by our house if we need to for anything, or maybe somebody called on a final in the meantime. We can stop by our house, get the file, know what was the required repairs and stuff like that. And Bryan, mainly what I do is VA.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Good for you. Hey, before I let you go, let me ask you, I know you've been with the Association of Texas Appraisers for a long time. I see you there. Sometimes you're pacing in the back, or you'll ask a hard question or give a comment. Talk about that for a minute. What has your experience been with that state association? And if we've got any Texas appraisers watching or listening right now, would you recommend to them to get involved with the ATA?
Well, funny that you asked that. I am now part of the committee for bringing on new attendees and new members. And so, Bryan, let me do a shout out right quick.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't. Go back a little bit. It's a little blurry. There you go, right there. Association of Texas Appraisers 2005, celebrating 20 years, 2025. And this wasn't planned, but Karis, look, I've got one right. I keep my mouse on mine. So it was it's so funny that you just put that up, because I got one too laying right here. That's great.
Yes, and we got those in August of this year at where we were dancing again.
Oh yeah.
But Bryan, whenever I've been in real estate, in appraising long enough that I've gone to different associations and actually visited with different ones. I even went out of state one time to take a class on ad valorem. It was in Nevada, in Las Vegas. But this organization, ATA, has so many members and so many people that will talk to you and ask questions, and we get to know things. But I really, really believe in taking classes in person. You learn the other people. You learn more in the class. You have more interaction.
Well, and you on breaks, and I know they have a little networking event, and you not only build those relationships, you can refer business to one another, and it really is a great group of appraisers that want to help one another to succeed. And so I've enjoyed every time I've been down, and I saw you there in August as well. So Karis, if somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about you, or maybe they want you and Dennis come out and do an appraisal for them, or just pick your brain, what would be a good way for them to reach out to you?
Call me. 325-668-3741. Give me a call.
You have an email or a website you want to give?
Yes, I do. It's appraisalgrouptex@yahoo.com. But I'm really very accessible. Not like you, Bryan.
Easy there, easy. I get it.
You're a busy man.
I'm trying to do better. Well, Karis Crawford, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate you taking the time out to tell the story. We've been talking about having you on forever, and I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen. So thank you very much for being here. It's an incredible, fascinating story. And tell Dennis I said hello, and thanks
I will.
for letting
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast from Appraiser eLearning. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're making some money. I hope you're getting ready for the UAD 3.6. If you are an appraiser that has kind of an interesting background story like you've heard today, or you know someone that has a unit, maybe they were on the Price is Right. Whoever that was on Price is Right, give me a call. I'd love to have you on. That was a great story, and I can't recall who it was. But if you fell into appraising or jumped in kind of like the story you've heard today, reach out to us. We'd love for you to give you a platform and an opportunity to tell that story. We love appraisers, and we like talking to them and hearing their stories. So until next time, for Karis Crawford, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update Podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.